Got a jam-packed show today. I hope everybody had a good Mother's Day weekend. We're going to do a season review on Bradley Beal. Kyle Kuzma and John Wall took a picture together, so Wizards fans are super hyped up. We're going to talk a little bit about the playoffs and some Bradley Beal Sixers rumors and scuttlebutt. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Also, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online where the game starts. All right, so just want to do Bradley Beal's season review and his breakdown. I guess give him a grade, kind of like I did before with Rui, Denny, and Corey Kispert. Just some things we want to see from him in the offseason. Of course, the looming question of the contract. So we'll go around or talk about his shooting. Was his poor shooting this year or underwhelming year statistically and just playing wise? Is that an outlier? Is that an anomaly? You hear Tommy Shepard say, I have a quote right here. Tommy Shepard saying that, I didn't seeing some of the things that people say about Bradley Beal. Are we talking about the same guy? Are we talking about the same person? Yeah, he says, I see stuff about Bradley and I kind of wonder, my goodness, are we talking about the same player? He's a special player, one of the best at his position in the NBA, which is true. He's a two-time NBA All-Star, All NBA player. First, made the All Rookie team his rookie season. He's gotten better every year. Bradley Beal is definitely a top 25, top 30 player in the NBA. Last year, you could argue definitely a top 15 player, top 20 player, of course, because since he made the All NBA team. But this season, yeah, he did not play well at all. Shooting percentage went down. Field goal percentage went down. Turnovers went up. His assists did go up, which is fine. It had the wrist injury that, ended his season. Only played 40 games this year, 23.2 points per game, 6.6 assists per game, which he had to step up and play point guard. When that's, he's a shooting guard. He had to step up and play point guard. We just did not have good point guard play. The chemistry did not work out with Spencer Dinwiddie. Hall Neto's a backup combo guard. We didn't get Ish Smith until the second half of the year. We didn't get Tomas until the second half of the year after the trade deadline. So we just didn't, Aaron Holiday, it didn't work out with him. So we just did not have a point guard. We didn't have a pass first point guard. We didn't have a guy that could come in and facilitate. We just did not have a natural point guard at all. And Bradley Beal had to come in and play make. We brought in multiple guys. We brought in Montrezl Harrell. We brought in Kyle Kuzma. We brought in KCP. We brought in Spencer Dinwiddie. There was just a lot of guys, and it was a different type of offense as well under Wes Unseld Jr. compared to last year with Scott Brooks that I talked about before, where it was a lot of isolation ball. Just give the ball to Brad. Everybody get out the way, and he can go score and put up 35, 40 points. He had a 60-point game. He had multiple 40-point games. Granted, we lost a lot of those 40-point games, but, the year with Scott Brooks, it was like Russ and Brad, go, you guys pick and roll, isolation. You guys create offense that way. Where this year, it was more predicated. It was supposed to be more ball movement and guys, getting more touches. But it was a lot of guys at the same level just fighting for touches, and the offense was murky, saying the offense was too complicated under Wes Unseld Jr. Bradley Beal was trying to figure it out and get in gel with his teammate and get chemistry. But granted, he didn't shoot the ball well either. His defense was fine to start off 10-3, and then it tailed off after that. So, looking at some of his shooting numbers, I wanted to bring this up too. His 3-point percentage off of wide open threes and threes from 4 to 6 feet open, where he still has space where he's knocking them down. You look at previous years, his numbers have really gone down from that. So this is from NBA.com, where the closest defender was 6 feet away, which is considered wide open shots. And the defender was 4 to 6 feet away, which is considered open shots. And then, of course, the question about the contract, should the Wizards be so ready to hand Bradley Beal $250 million, the 5-year, $245 million contract, the max deal that he's eligible to get? He's most likely going to decline that option. He's going to decline the 4-year, $181 million player option. and he most likely is going to take that max deal, as he was asked in his his press conference, where he had the wristband on in the middle of the year, a couple of days after the trade deadline. He said it's fair that he's leaning towards coming back to the Washington Wizards. So there's $245 million reasons why he was the most chill, relaxed guy ever to say that he's going to opt in and take a $245 million contract. So I'm going to look at these numbers. His three-point percentage. Bradley Beal was known as an elite shooter in the beginning, in the earlier years in his career. He was compared to Ray Allen. He was considered as an elite shooter. Now look at these numbers right here: 4 to 6 feet from three. The closest defender is 4 to 6 feet away from him. He shot 25% from the three, which is very underwhelming. 2 to 4 feet away, which is considered tight defense, he shot 25%. 6 feet plus away from him, which is wide open, he shot 40%, which is about normal, which is what you should be shooting when a defender is 60 or 6 feet away from you. You should be shooting at least 40% away. You look at last year in 2021, 4 to 6 feet, he shot 33%, which is 8% better than what he shot last year. 2 to 4 feet away, 31%, which is once again 6 feet away. 6 feet wide open, 37%. He shot better in 2022. But looking at his best shooting year in his career, which was the 2017 season, where he was next to John Wall with a pass-first point guard that could set him up and get him open threes. You look at the numbers here, and the big difference, a huge difference. 4 to 6 feet away, he shot 39% from three compared to 25%. 2 to 4 feet away, which is tight defense, he shot 37% compared to 25%. 6 feet or more feet, 6+ feet wide open, the nearest defender, 42% from the three compared to 40%, which is not bad in 2022. He shot 40% where he was just super, super wide open. So he still shot a decent amount, but 4 to 6 feet away and 2 to 4 feet away, he was shooting 25%, which is way below league average. So basically the stats are telling you that he needs a point guard. He needs somebody to set him up and get him open. Can the Wizards find that for him? He played his best next to John Wall. He plays best next to Russell Westbrook. And him having to handle the ball more and having more ball handling duties, I feel like that did hurt his shooting percentage. It did mess with his three-point percentage because it's tougher when you're on ball and your usage is higher and you're the one creating for others and you're trying to find your three-point shot as well. So that's something that is it really an outlier, the shooting? His shooting numbers are going down each year. The three-point percentage is going down each year. He's a 37% career three-point shooter, 30% from three this year, 34% in 2021, 35% in 2020, and then 2018 he shot 37%. So ever since 2018 it's going down, and that's when he's had to use the ball more. He's had more uses. But I do want to get into some of the things that I saw well, and then some of the things that he did go through during the season, some other numbers that I want to bring up about Bradley Beal. But before I do get into that, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Make sure to go check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA mock draft, player rankings, and, of course, big boards. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so Bradley Beal's season, it was definitely up and down. He had some good moments, and for the most part, it was up and down for him for sure. So he had 2 stints on the health and safety protocols. He also had a hip injury as well. He dealt with the passing of his grandmother as well. And then he injured his left wrist, with a season-ending injury. So the good part that I really liked is the playmaking. It really feels like, if they can't find a point guard, which would be worst case scenario, they may have to have Bradley Beal run point sometimes, maybe with with some second unit guys come in or towards the end of the game. You look at the Jazz game where he had his best game, really, in my opinion. Him and KCP played really well. Then he dunked on Rudy Gobert. He was playing point guard that game, in the second half. For the second half, for the most part, he had the ball handling duties. down the stretch, and he was shooting the ball well. He's getting to the basket. He flexed on Rudy Gobert, dunking on him, and he finished the game strong, and he looked like the Bradley Beal before. Could it be like a James Harden with the Rockets kind of offense? There was games where he had 10 assists, he had multiple assists, had 13 assists in one game. He had some really good games where we were questioning, hey, can he play point guard? Can he continue that? Is it sustainable, or is he better with a pass first point guard next to him? And I think he's better with a pass first point guard, but we know he's capable of ball handling the ball, and getting guys involved and getting guys open. Pick and roll with Porzingis, I'm excited to see that. Can he coexist with Porzingis? Porzingis and Luka Doncic, it didn't work out. Can it work out with Bradley Beal? Can it be a pick and roll? Can they work with the pick and roll, pick and pop? Bradley Beal's super excited to play with Kristaps Porzingis. He said that Porzingis is the most skilled and most talented big that he's played with. And can you build, the questions, of course, can you build around Bradley Beal and have a contender in the NBA, not only in just the NBA, but in the Eastern Conference? There's players in the Eastern Conference and teams that are, easily better than the Washington Wizards. You look at the Celtics, you look at the Bucks, all the teams that are left over in the playoffs right now. You can argue the Nets with Kevin Durant, even though they didn't play well. You can argue the Sixers are definitely a better team than the Wizards. Can they compete with those teams? Who are they going to add to be better than those teams? I'll pull up the list of the teams at Miami Heat. They're better than the playoff. They're better than the Wizards right now. That's one. Boston's better than the Wizards. Milwaukee's better than the Wizards. The Sixers are better than the Wizards. Toronto, we'll see what they have next year, but right now they have a better roster than the Wizards. The Bulls have a better roster than the Wizards. The Nets have a better roster than the Wizards. So that's 7 teams right there. That's 7 teams. The Hawks beat the Wizards 3-1 this year. The Cavaliers have young budding stars. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. They got young guys, Jarrett Allen. They have guys that are going to be here for the next 10 years. Giannis is going to be here for the next 10 years. Jimmy Butler's not going anywhere. Tyler Hero's not going anywhere. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they're not going anywhere. So you look at the Eastern Conference, you're staring that in the face. Can you build a contender with Bradley Beal? Can you build a contending team? Can you be just more than a playing team with Bradley Beal as your number one? That's the question mark. Do you want to pay him $245 million for 5 years as your number one? As your number one, as your alpha. Can he be a leader? That's the question marks too for Bradley Beal. Can he be a leader on a contending team? You saw a lot of guys with chemistry issues. Can he step up and be a leader? Those are the question marks for me, for sure. So the scuttlebutt is, we've heard from multiple people. Andrew Bogut has come out and said certain things. I'll put up the quote from Andrew Bogut here pretty shortly. He says, I've heard this is Andrew Bogut. So is he really plugged in? He's played in the NBA for 12 years. And there's multiple people coming out with sources now. Zach Lowe. I just want to talk about the scuttlebutt and the rumors, because I just feel like, everybody's saying Bradley Beal 100% will sign with the Wizards, which I do think is a 99% chance. But I do think he may look around and say, hey, I want to compete. I want to get a championship as soon as possible. I'm 28. I'm turning 29 pretty soon. I just had this wrist injury. I've had a couple injuries in the past. So, who knows? I just want to take the opportunity to compete and get a championship instead of, being in that 7th seed type of range. So this is from Andrew Bogut on the Rogue Bogues podcast. This is a couple months ago that we talked about this. I've heard a pretty big quote. I've heard a pretty big rumor from some people that are pretty close to the situation in the NBA. Big 3 to Philly. Brad Beal is trying to get to Philadelphia in the offseason to team up with James Harden and Joel Embiid. Philly's desperate, obviously, to try to get off Tobias Harris anyway. They have been for a while, and I think they're even more desperate now to free up that cap space somehow. It will most likely have to be a sign and trade with Philly, but don't be surprised if a big 3 forms in Philly. That's the word on the street. Also, Zach Lowe has come out with a report as well in the offseason saying that Joel Embiid preferred Bradley Beal over James Harden. Now, Joel Embiid, they have the same trainer. Joel Embiid and Bradley Beal have the same trainer, and Drew Hanlen. So there's an obvious connection right there. So, who knows? They may have talked behind the scenes. And then also Jason Williams on Get Up on NBA ESPN says that he has long heard that Bradley Beal wants to join the Philadelphia 76ers. Shout out to Damo from the Wizards of Gallery Place podcast that we had as a guest on last month or a couple of weeks ago. He pointed this out on Twitter. I looked it up. It is on YouTube on NBA ESPN. And we don't know how credible these guys' sources are, but there's something called where there's smoke, there's fire for sure. So I would just keep an eye on that. If things change, Bradley Beal wakes up one morning during the free agency period and says, "Hey, I'm ready to move on." Look at the Sixers. You look at the Miami. Those are two possible teams that we could see that happening. Now, to get a return from the Sixers, you have to give me Tyrese Maxey. Of course, you probably have to take on Tobias Harris's contract. Tobias Harris is getting paid $37 million per year, which is a pretty sizable contract for Tobias Harris, especially the way he's been playing lately. But I would love to take Tyrese Maxey and maybe Matisse Thybulle. If you can give me Maxey, Thybulle, or Matisse Thybulle and Tobias Harris, then we're talking. Or Maxey, Tobias, and a first-round pick, we're certainly talking right there. That's something that would be very enticing, very intriguing for me to, take a look at trading Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal wants out. If he forces our hand and wants to request a trade, a sign and trade, that would be very beneficial for the win. You get a young point guard in Tyrese Maxey, who's a budding star. You get Matisse Thybulle, who's a legitimate defender. Tobias Harris, you get that as contract filler. And Tobias Harris is a good player. He's not a bad player at all. He's a solid player. He can create a bucket. He can score. And he's a good rebounder as well and a solid defender. So he would be really good. Now, Bradley Beal, he has been loyal to the Wizards, played for the Wizards for 10 years, been to the playoffs multiple times, has made it past the first round a couple of times with John Wall. Has been super, super loyal. There were opportunities for him to ask out. Russell Westbrook requesting a trade. Last year, there was opportunities for him to leave. John Wall being out for multiple years, there was opportunities for Bradley Beal to ask out and leave and be traded. There's been teams recruiting. The Miami Heat have been recruiting him hard. Bam Adebayo wearing his jersey. There's just been multiple. The Warriors have had interest. Everybody's had interest in Bradley Beal. Everybody has had interest. But Tommy Shepard wants Bradley Beal to be the face of the franchise. He's a character guy. He does a lot of good things in the city. But Bradley Beal, is he the number one option? That's just, do you pay a guy who is not a number one option on a championship contender a max deal, a 5-year, $245 million deal? That's the question you got to ask yourself moving forward. I'm a Bradley Beal fan. He's a great player. But those are the question marks. And, just being the leader and the alpha dog on a championship team. But now, can they create a model where they model after the Bulls, where they built around Zach LaVine? And you see how the Bulls ended up. Zach LaVine is their number one option, their number one player. They just lost in the first round. Granted that the Bulls, Lonzo Ball was injured and missed the playoffs. Maybe they could have made it past the first round. I highly doubt it. They definitely would have lost to the Bulls, even if they had Lonzo Ball, in my opinion. But they got a DeMar DeRozan. They got a Vucevic. Can they duplicate that? The Wizards got Porzingis. You can compare him to Vooch, but they're not going to find a DeMar DeRozan. I highly doubt they can find a Lonzo Ball in the offseason as well. as well. And you look at the Suns building around Devin Booker, a shooting guard that's more of a scoring guard. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, they all have that similar game where they're scoring guards. They're the two position scoring guards where they can shoot the three level scores. They found Chris Paul. There is no Chris Paul out there. So the Wizards are just in a tough spot building around Bradley Beal. They found a good player, Kristaps Porzingis, but is that enough in a mid-tier point guard and some other guy, Kuzma, Rui off the bench, Dean off the bench, and a draft pick? Is that enough to make it out the first round? So yeah, it's just a lot of questions. I can go on and on about Bradley Beal's off season. Great player, but is he somebody that you build around? That's the question mark right there. But before I do get into the John Wall, Kyle Kuzma pictures here, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. My favorite flavor is cookies and cream. I love Built Bar, and I eat it all the time. Super, super healthy. Tastes like a candy bar, but it's way more healthy than a candy bar. I eat it to get my day started. It's the perfect snack for the summertime. Trying to work out, trying to lose this dad weight. I love the puffs. Have you tried the Built Puffs yet? We are going crazy for the puffs. They come in crazy flavors like banana cream pie and even churro. Who doesn't want a protein bar that tastes like a churro? And they're only 140 calories. Sign me up. Built Bar makes sure that there is something for everyone. Know what my favorite flavor is? Like I said before, cookies and cream. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to Built.com to get all of your favorites: banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, and so many more. They're all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. Check them out at Built.com. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this Bradley Beal. I'm sorry, Kyle Kuzma, John Wall picture. They looked like they were partying at a nightclub where you can take a picture is worth 1,000 words. So a lot of Wizards fans were going crazy over this picture, and I'm not surprised. I don't blame them. But like I said, if John Wall is bought out and the Wizards can sign him for the mid-level exception of 10.5 or less than that, I think that's something to consider for sure. Now the injuries are a concern. The shooting, the three-point shooting is a concern. Is he a shell of himself? He's that same guy from many years ago. He's only played what 30 something games in 3 years, which is very concerning. Some of that is because the Rockets decided not to play him, but he's still a really good point guard. He would be an upgrade from what we have, certainly. And the Wizards are looking for a pass first point guard, which is what John Wall can do. Can he play well defensively? The last couple of years, 2017, he was a great defender, but once again, that's 5 years ago. The chase down blocks, the athleticism, the sideline to sideline speed or full court speed. Does he still have that? And the athleticism. Does he still have that? His game was, the strength of his game was athleticism and being faster. One of the quickest, most explosive point guards in the game of basketball history. One of the best shot blocking point guards in the game of basketball. One of the best passing point guards in the game of basketball. The 360 layups, the behind the back passes, all that stuff. Getting guys open, spoon feeding, Marcin Gortat, Nene, getting Bradley Beal open shots, getting Otto Porter open shots, getting Trevor Ariza open shots. Can he fit with Porzingis, pick and roll, pick and pop? Can Bradley Beal open? I think he can do that. I really do. I think he can do that. So it's something to definitely consider for the Washington Wizards, but can he mend things with Ted Leonsis? They didn't leave on good terms. Tommy Shepard saying that he was not going to trade John Wall. Then he ends up getting traded a couple of days later. Then the reporter asked John Wall, did he request a trade? And then John Wall says no comment. Our next question. So it's just a lot to think about there. So, but the playoffs, the Warriors beat the Grizzlies by 30. And then the Celtics lost to the Bucks in a nail biter. A lot of these flagrant fouls. Dylan Brooks getting ejected, flagrant fouling. Gary Payton II. That definitely was a flagrant 2 for sure. Then Draymond Green swiping down on Brandon Clark. That was definitely a flagrant 2 as well. So I think I was correct on my picks. The Warriors over the Grizzlies. I had the Bucks over the Celtics. The Dallas Mavericks did win. I had them winning that. But there's some games on Sunday night. I have the Mavericks losing to the Suns, and I have the Sixers beating the Heat, tying up 2-2. Joel Embiid is back, and he's playing well. He's playing good ball. I think they're going to tie it up against the Heat. And then I have the Mavericks losing to the Suns. I have the Mavericks losing to the Suns. I have the Suns going up 3-1. So you guys let me know what you guys think about the playoff picks and the Bradley Beal scuttlebutt and the John Wall picture with Kyle Kuzma. So I want to thank you guys for listening and making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Make sure you guys subscribe to us on YouTube. Hail to the Wizards.